Shalom, family. The nation of Yahweh would like to thank you for joining us tonight for Yahweh's Feast of Tabernacles, solar year 6025. We are making a global call to good people, and at this feast, we will learn how righteousness brings about the change we need to see. I hope you're ready because you are in for a treat. We'll get started with a prayer and then a welcome. Then Shalom, family, for tonight. After that, a very special message by the Most Honorable Yahweh Ben Yahweh.
And now for our prayer. If we will all stand and face the east with outstretched hands, O Yahweh, God of our salvation, save us, gather us together.
Shalom, family.
Thy works. For surely we have turned ourselves to thee, O Yahweh, trying to be upright. And as we confess our faults, please grant us protection against all of our faults. Cleanse us of our secret faults and guide us to the best of morals. For surely our prayers and our sacrifices, our lives and our deaths, are all for thee, O Yahweh. Tefillah. Avenu Shabashamayim, Yikadesh Shemeaka, Tavo Malkuteraka, Yadze Rezonka, Kim Bashamayim Kain Ba'aretz, Elekan Kukenu, Tain Lanu Hayom, Uslat Lanu, All Kartienu, Kimosa King, Gamanatnu, Lakotiem Lanu, Veal Tevienu, Lade Nisayom, King Kal Senu, Min Hara, Kelaka, Hamamlaha, Veha Givera, Veha Tefieret, Leolame, Olamin Sila. We thank thee, O Yahweh, O living and eternal King, who has so mercifully restored our souls within us. So let everything that has breath praise Yahweh.
All praises, glory, honor, and exuberance be to our great, good, and terrible God Yahweh, and to his most magnanimous, erudite, pontifical, savant, perfect, celestial, potentate, Yahweh Ben Yahweh. Blessed is he that cometh in the name of the living Lord and God of gods, Yahweh. Praise Yahweh. Welcome to the Feast of Tabernacles, this joyful and memorable occasion to be observed forever, as stated in Zechariah 14:16, which states, "And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord Yahweh of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles." Why is this scripture stating everyone that is left? Well, previously in Zechariah 14:2, it mentions a terrible plague that came upon all the people who fought against Jerusalem. Yahweh established the Feast of Tabernacles as a commandment for all nations who desire safety and prosperity. Yes, keeping the Feast of Tabernacles and worshiping the King of Israel ensures that your land will receive rain. This is stated in Zechariah 14:17, which reveals, "And it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord Yahweh of hosts. Even upon them shall be no rain. No rain means drought, and drought is devastating. So rejoice, all ye lands that keep the Feast of Tabernacles. Rejoice, for your blessings are clear. Rejoice, for Yahweh will give you rain. The Feast of Tabernacles is also a time for Israel to remember when Yahweh made us to dwell in booths. Yes, take a look at Leviticus 23:41 through 43. And ye shall keep it a feast unto the Lord Yahweh 7 days in the year. It shall be a statute forever in your generations. Ye shall celebrate it in the 7th month. Ye shall dwell in booths 7 days. All that are Israelite born shall dwell in booths, that your generations may know that I made the children of Israel to dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord Yahweh, your God. The same is happening today. Yahweh is bringing us out of America with a strong hand. This is the day to rejoice and be glad as we dwell in the protection of our Father Yahweh. The Lord, the word, booth in Hebrew is numeral 5521 in the Strong's Exhaustive Concordance, and it means a hut or lair. A lair is a wild animal's den. So think about that. The Feast of Tabernacles is for Israel to remember dwelling in booths as Yahweh is bringing us out, saving us from the den of a wild animal, our open enemies, from devouring us anymore. So rejoice, be glad. This is the day of the Lord Yahweh, and be blessed. Praise Yahweh. Praise Yahweh Ben Yahweh.
Praise Yahweh. It is my great pleasure tonight to introduce our teaching priest for this evening. Our teaching priest for this evening also requested that she be known by her works. So, just the facts. Tonight's teaching priestess, she is a daughter and a student of Yahweh and has committed her life to fulfill her duty as a soldier of Yahweh Ben Yahweh. She is a central force for our national efforts. Technician and co-host of The Unfolding Light, executive director of Builders of the Highway Foundation. As a community organizer, she is a founding member of the Claiborne Avenue Alliance. Also a founding member of Cooperation New Orleans Loan Fund. As a business owner, she helped co-founded the Neo Jazz School of Music. She also co-founded Yisrael Entertainment, as well as she has founded TMH Financial Services, a business consultant services. She's very proud of that. Also, she is a founding member of Resolve Financial Cooperative. She is internationally known for her works as a co-op developer. She is also my queen. She is also a very, what does the scripture say? A virtuous woman. She is a very virtuous woman. I have the pleasure of being, what they say, my counterpart. Yes, that's what the word I'm looking for. She is my counterpart. And of course, I love her very much. Sister, this person I'm speaking of is none other than Sister Tamai Yisrael. Praise Yahweh.
Thank you, Brother Lou. Thank you, Brother Lou, for such a warm and loving introduction. I am truly grateful and honored that Yahweh has put us together to do His will. Well, Shalom, family, and welcome to night 7 of Yahweh's Feast of Tabernacles, solar year 6025. Tonight, I'm going to be sharing a study and doing a workshop from How to Overcome the World, page 292, by the Most Honorable Yahweh Ben Yahweh. This chapter is entitled Properly Thank Yahweh. Just before we get started, I do want to give you an overview of how we're going to run our evening tonight. First, we'll start with a reading from the book Properly Thank Yahweh, page 292. Then we'll go into some grounding information that we need so that we can be on the same page as we walk through this study. And second, we're going to go through some steps that Yahweh Ben Yahweh outlined in this chapter that are necessary for us to properly thank Yahweh. And then finally, we're going to review our action plan. In these steps, Yahweh Ben Yahweh is giving us some active things that we must do. So for tonight, you're going to need a piece of paper, something to take notes with, whether that's a smartphone, a computer, laptop, or iPad, or if you have a journal. Please take a moment now to get your stuff together so that we can go through this study together. Alrighty, well, I hope you have everything you need. We are ready to get into the reading of this chapter. Now, after we read the chapter and when we get into the pieces that are our action plan, I'll name a few additional tools that you'll need so that you can deploy your action plan to have a better outcome. So without further ado, here is Properly Thank Yahweh from page 292 of How to Overcome the World by Yahweh Ben Yahweh. Yahweh Ben Yahweh is come teaching you to give thanks unto Yahweh, the creator and sustainer of all things. Why is the so-called black man, the spiritually dead lost sheep of the house of Israel, on the bottom of civilization? In order to overcome your condition in this world, essentially, you must first acknowledge transgressing the commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes of Yahweh. Your character will remain flawed until you accept Yahweh Ben Yahweh, obey the commandments of Yahweh, and give thanks to Him for all things. In order to properly In order to give thanks properly, you must study and understand the nature and work of Yahweh. As the creator of all things, Yahweh deserves all praises. From this reality comes the coronation of ebullience and rejoicing and praising Yahweh as God of God, Lord of Lord, Kings of Kings, etc. In order to give thanks to Yahweh properly, you must accept Yahweh Ben Yahweh as the Son of Yahweh and study so as to perceive, understand, acquire knowledge, know, and discern the nature and work of Yahweh. You must be able to distinguish between right and wrong. Clearly, the pagans, heathens, and worshipers of Satan do not know Yahweh, which has produced a world of thankless people under their 6,000-year rule. Wow. I want to thank Yahweh Ben Yahweh for giving us these words and all this wisdom. This is truly, indeed, a snippet of information that's worthy and warrant our study. Because as we see here, we must properly thank Yahweh. Inherent in this idea is that we've had an improper way or no way of thanking Yahweh at all. Isn't that something? So Yahweh Ben Yahweh has given us a prescription for how to properly thank Yahweh. So we're going to dive into this study, and the first things first, we want to ground ourselves in a few ideas and concepts so that we can walk through this study together. Now, I want to introduce an idea, and Yahweh Ben Yahweh teaches this, but he teaches this in a way that you have to really understand and be clear. And so I want to dive off into these studies around practice. There's something in here that is not named just directly, but we want to lift it out directly. In these words and in this wisdom is embedded the idea of practice. There is intentional practice and there is default practice. Let's define practice momentarily. Practice is simply the act of doing something. Whether that something is complicated as a piano solo or as simple as washing dishes. We call it practice when the act becomes a repeated behavior. Now, there's something that is familiar in this idea, especially if you are a student, currently a student of Yahweh. If you're not a student of Yahweh currently, that's okay. We have more for you that's going to help you get into your studies and understanding directly. Now let's look at this idea of default practices. Default practices are deeply rooted behaviors that we do automatically, constantly, consistently, and unconsciously in response to a given situation. That's called a default practice. Intentional practices are those that we choose to do in order to transform the way we show up in the world. Through new practices, we increase choice and alignment with our values. Now, there's something distinguishing that I want to name about the nature and character about Yahweh Ben Yahweh. Yahweh Ben Yahweh came and is bringing about a change in the lives of the individuals by causing them to take a different approach to life. And see, in this different approach, Yahweh Ben Yahweh lifted out the difference between in default practice and intentional practice. We have to intentionally practice something different from what we've been doing before. Recognize that we have a default practice and patterns and change that behavior. But let's not get stuck here. There's a few other grounding points that we want to identify. Now, I've been naming Yahweh and Yahweh Ben Yahweh, and our sister Zabia Athalia in her night gave an astute information around who is Yahweh. But let's gain a little understanding for our conversation this evening. If you go to Britannica, the online encyclopedia, Yahweh is the name of the God of the Israelites, representing the biblical pronunciation of Yahweh. The Hebrew name was revealed to Moses in the book of Exodus. The name Yahweh, consisting of the sequence of consonants Yud, He, Wav, He, is known as the Tetragrammaton, the 4 Hebrew letters usually transliterated into Yahweh, which is the name that forms the proper name of the biblical God. Wow. So there is a relationship with Yahweh and the Bible. Well, let's look at this because we do need this understanding. So what is the Bible? The Bible, according to the Cambridge Online Dictionary, says is a copy of the holy book of quote-unquote Christian religions, consisting of the Old and New Testaments. But there's another definition here. It says, or the holy books of the Jewish or Hebrew religion, consisting of the laws, the prophets, and the writings. Now, in this book or these books, Yahweh gave us his laws. So there's something in the reading that we just went over that we needed to properly give thanks to Yahweh, but we needed to understand that there are commandments, judgments, statutes, and laws. And so those ideas are found in the Bible. And I'll just direct you to some additional information to further your study. If you visit the Nation of Yahweh's YouTube channel, that's the Nation of Yahweh on YouTube, there's a couple of videos that'll help you on your journey in gaining your relationship with Yahweh, which is who is Yahweh, as well as understanding your true history. So there are 2 videos on the Nation of Yahweh YouTube channel that are highly recommended. Who is Yahweh and our true history. So please visit that channel today and begin your journey if this is a new study for you. So let's answer some questions. Yahweh Ben Yahweh posed a very serious question in tonight's reading. He says, why is the so-called black man, the spiritually dead lost sheep of the house of Israel, on the bottom of civilization? Well, again, in our previous nights, our family identified that we're on the bottom because we transgress the commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes of Yahweh. Now, all of the grounding information that I shared are very important elements in understanding this condition that we're in. Brother Lude, Dr. Lude, in his dissertation last night, gave a clear identification of the things that we see in the systems around us that makes us be in this condition. And without this clarity, without this grounding, none of this of what is being shared will help out your condition. And I just want to point out that Yahweh Ben Yahweh named in this study that your character will remain flawed until you accept Yahweh Ben Yahweh, obey the commandments of Yahweh, and give him thanks for all things. So let's go over these steps because there are some things you want to do. Now, in these steps, have your pen and paper ready because we're going to write down some questions and things that you want to go on your journey to identify to get you on the right course to properly thank Yahweh. All right, let's go to step 1. In tonight's teaching in the book, How to Overcome the World, Yahweh Ben Yahweh named, in order to overcome your condition in this world, essentially, you must first acknowledge transgressing the commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes of Yahweh. So, how do you know this? How do you gain understanding around this? So we just identified something here, that we have transgressed the commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes of Yahweh. We must acknowledge this. Well, let me just identify real briefly that acknowledge, which is also a legal term that's used in contracts. There's acknowledgments of receipt of the information. It's really a critical point in truing up agreements. Acknowledge is a verb that means to admit or show one's knowledge to. Now, I have a reflection question for you. You want to ask yourselves in this moment, do I know this to be true or factual, that I have transgressed the commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes of Yahweh? Now think about that for a second. Do you know that you individually have transgressed the commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes of Yahweh? If so, how do you know? And again, if you know the answer to this question, with your piece of paper, take a moment to write down this I statement, such as, or an I statement, such as, I know, acknowledge, and know to be true that I have transgressed the commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes of Yahweh. Take a moment and write that down if you know this to be true. Now, if you don't know this to be true, don't write that down just yet. You'll revisit this teaching so that you can go through this process when you know for sure, when you know this to be a fact, or admit that you have knowledge of this. Now, if you don't know the answer to this question, I want to also encourage you to visit the Nation of Yahweh's YouTube channel and listen to the presentations from night 1 through 6 of the Yahweh's Feast of Tabernacles, solar year 6025. This is a part of the process where you can begin your study and show yourself approved. Our teaching priests for this feast have given you so much information for you to go on this journey and take this study and learn for yourself whether or not you've transgressed the commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes of Yahweh. And then let's go back to your piece of paper, your notes or journal, and let's write down, how have I transgressed the commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes of Yahweh? Now, I don't expect you to get the answer to this question tonight, but this question is really critical in you actually laying out the steps in your action plan and really answering this question for yourself and doing the work to really discover and dig deeply. Because again, we're all on our journey to properly thank Yahweh. We no longer want to remain in the conditions that we've been subject to. We want to change our conditions. We want to bring about that change that we need to see. And as we see in our communities, the conditions are pretty critical. So this question is equally critical to get you on your journey to making your individual change and then helping your people and your nation as a whole make that collective change. Alrighty, well, let's move on to step 2. Step 2 in this process is outlined in the chapter Yahweh Ben Yahweh gave us. In order to give thanks properly, you must study and understand the nature and work of Yahweh. Now, I identified this earlier, that in this statement is inherent that we have not been properly giving thanks to Yahweh. Now, one might think that just because we know the name Yahweh, we know Yahweh is God, we know that Yahweh Ben Yahweh is the true and living Son of Yahweh. We also may even know that our true history is Hebrew, our true culture is Hebrew, and that our true garments are white unto the ground. We may know all of these things. We may even know that Judah is the 4th tribe, and that we, the so-called black people of America, are from the tribe of Judah, and so on and so forth. But how have you properly given thanks to Yahweh? Let's explore this idea for a moment. Now, in this comment, Yahweh Ben Yahweh said, in order to give thanks properly, you must study and understand the nature and work of Yahweh. I will not be able to break all of this down tonight because this is the study, the work that you have to do for yourself. But let's understand, study, because you need this tool to move you forth in changing your conditions so that you are able to give thanks properly to Yahweh. So write down these 3 words. I have 3 words for you: research, seek, and apply. Research, seek, and apply. All of these words are active verbs. They're action words. Let's start with research. In our understanding of study, Yahweh Ben Yahweh has given us this information. And let's just look at a dictionary definition of the word study. Study means to devote time and attention to acquiring knowledge, especially on an academic subject, especially by means of book. Now, we just talked about a book previously in this conversation. So that lets us know that there is a particular book that we need to be diving off into. That book is the King James Version of the Holy Bible. Okay? So write that down as one of the things that you need to fulfill your action plan. I've also provided in my presentation tonight a number of definitions. We'll be going deeper and providing some synonyms. And so I just want to invite you, as you are building your action plan, to write down these tools. The tools that you'll need is the Bible, several dictionaries, the Strong's exhaustive concordance, and some synonym finders. And our family, in their presentations on previous nights, have named other platforms, online platforms, that you can use for your study. So these are tools that you will need. Now let's revisit those 3 words we talked about. In study, the most honorable Yahweh Ben Yahweh has given us that study is a 3-step process. We research all the facts about a thing. Now, all these words are like coming back full circle because previously we asked, do we know this to be true or factual that we've transgressed the commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes of Yahweh? So we actually need to research the facts about this thing. Then we also need to seek to understand the nature of this thing. Now, named in this chapter, Yahweh Ben Yahweh said in order to give thanks properly, we must study and understand the nature and work of Yahweh. So it's inherent and incumbent upon us that we study the nature of Yahweh. Family, the King James Version of the Bible is your first step in gaining this understanding. This tool is critical for your research. And then finally, apply. We need to apply this knowledge to gain the knowledge gained for the betterment of yourself and a nation as a whole. Now, what does this truly mean? This means that there is an active process that study takes you through to change the information, giving you the facts that you haven't had, giving you a nature that you have yet to identify with, and then giving you knowledge that is gainful to make you a better person. Now, there is a guiding scripture that we use as practicing Hebrews, which is 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15. Again, that scripture is 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15, which reads, "Study to show thyself approved unto Yahweh, a workman that needeth not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth." Now, this is so powerful. This is a guiding principle for us because we understand that there's so much wisdom and knowledge in our Hebrew Bible and all the information around us that active, diligent, daily study is a necessity in this journey. Now, in this particular scripture, 2 Timothy 2:15, the word study in its Greek actually transliterate to mean to use speed, i.e. make effort, be prompt or earnest, do or give diligence, be diligent, forward, endeavor, labor. So we see that this word study is very critical because it is an active part of the process that you need in order to properly give thanks unto Yahweh. Without it, your thanks, your gratitude, your appreciation is unwarranted, it's ungrounded, it's without the facts or the true nature of Yahweh. It's without the support of the wisdom that you need to exercise the difference between right and wrong. So study is a critical element. So you must deploy this strategy in your action plan. Study is the core critical element of your action plan. Now let's look at step 3. Step 3 is actually broken down into 3 parts. In our teaching, Yahweh Ben Yahweh gave us, you must accept Yahweh Ben Yahweh as the Son of Yahweh and study. It's actually 4 steps here, but I'm going to keep reading. You must accept Yahweh Ben Yahweh as the Son of Yahweh and study, so as to perceive, understand, acquire knowledge, know and discern the nature and work of Yahweh. You must be able to distinguish between right and wrong. So we're going to break this down into 3 parts, but I deploy you, family, to write these words down. Use this in your study because they are critical. It's clear, based on the conditions that we are experiencing, that we have not properly given thanks to Yahweh in a way that is relative and connected to the true nature of Yahweh. Now, we may again have had a base connection to this idea of what it means to give thanks to Yahweh, but our reality is there is a deeper process that we must deploy, and it's wrapped up in the essence of study. So some words you want to take for your own personal study are perceive, understand, acquire knowledge, know, and discern. Without clarity on what these are and how you're supposed to be, your nature, your character will remain flawed because we won't be able to distinguish between right and wrong. So these are three very critical elements. One, you must accept Yahweh Ben Yahweh as the Son. If you are without the knowledge and a true acceptance of Yahweh Ben Yahweh as the Son, and of course, acceptance is based off of a contractual law. So you don't want to go about this with just a basic understanding. Before you enter into any legal agreement, you must have a clear understanding of the terms and conditions in that agreement. In accepting Yahweh Ben Yahweh as the Son of Yahweh is clearly you entering into an agreement with Yahweh Ben Yahweh and Yahweh. There are three parties to this agreement. Your acceptance of Yahweh Ben Yahweh as the Son of Yahweh is your acceptance as yourself as a child or son or daughter of Yahweh through Yahweh Ben Yahweh. And let me just say this. You cannot properly accept Yahweh Ben Yahweh as the Son of Yahweh without studying. Furthermore, you cannot accept yourself as a child or offspring of Yahweh without studying. Again, you need to be able to perceive, understand, acquire the knowledge necessary, know, and discern the nature and work of Yahweh. You have to be able to distinguish between right and wrong. Where does this wisdom come from? Well, we identified earlier that there is a book, a tool that you need, which is the King James Version of the Bible. And in that are the judgments, the commandments, the laws, and statutes of Yahweh. So without this tool, and without an active process of studying this tool, you will continuously do the things that are wrong and never properly give thanks to Yahweh. So this is a critical process. All right, family, we've gone through all of this critical information. Now it's time for us to create an action plan. We're going to revisit some of the actions that we outlined in our study. So the first thing is, with your piece of paper or your journal, write down, do I know this to be true and factual, that I have transgressed the commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes of Yahweh? If yes, then you must acknowledge that you have transgressed the commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes of Yahweh. Previously in our study, I gave you the prompt to write it down on a piece of paper. But acknowledgement of this requires so much more. This is just a first step. So do write it, remember it, connect to it, and understand that if you know this, then you must be prompted to action. If the answer to this question is no, do I know this to be true and factual, that I have transgressed the commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes of Yahweh? If the answer is no, that you don't know this, I encourage you to visit the Nation of Yahweh's YouTube channel. Go back to our nightly presenters for this Feast of Tabernacles and listen to nights 1 through 6. This is how we began our study. Our teaching priests have shown themselves stewards, workmen that have rightly divided the word of truth. So visit that YouTube channel and gain that proper understanding. Then the next thing you want to write down in your action plan is how have I transgressed the commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes of Yahweh? Now, in order for you to truly identify how, there's this word study again. An active study of the Bible, which contains the commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes of Yahweh, is indeed in order. Now, if you're studying a whole lot of other stuff, but the Bible is not included in that, you could be studying music, you could be studying architecture, you could be studying painting. But if you have not a practice, an intentional practice of studying the Bible, then you are missing what it takes for you to gain that understanding of how. And we also outline a study method. Now, the Most Honorable Yahweh Ben Yahweh has given us a 10-step study method. But the basis of our study is the word study. And previously in our study tonight, we identified 3 key words: research, seek, and apply. Research all the facts about a thing. Seek to understand the nature of that thing, and apply that wisdom and understanding for the betterment of our nation, for yourselves and our nation as a whole. Now, you have to deploy an active study to understand how you have transgressed the commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes. I'm going to keep saying this because this element is something that a lot of people don't really have an intentional practice in. Again, we sometimes set a schedule for all other things, but not one point on our schedule includes that time for study. You also need to study to understand the nature and work of Yahweh. And we are talking about the creator of this planet. We're talking about the creator of the universe. We're talking about the creator of all things. So, a study of the nature and work of Yahweh is an endless study. You cannot say that you've studied Yahweh for 5, 10, 15, 20 years and that you gain a complete understanding of the nature and work of Yahweh. Our study of Yahweh is a forever study. And then once you are in practice of this study, you have an active and intentional practice of study, use this information. It's not for you to have the knowledge in your head and not do anything with it. You use this information to distinguish between right and wrong, good and bad. So use the information that you gain from your study as a part of your work in being truly properly thanking Yahweh and giving proper praises to Yahweh. Now, I know y'all got a Palm Pilot, an iPad. You may not have a Palm Pilot because that's kind of old. Android, paper calendar, whatever you use to keep track of your day-to-day, pull that out right now. Let's check it. Let's synchronize our watches. Where on your calendar have you scheduled time to learn of the mind and the works of Yahweh? Do you have on your schedule time to understand how you've transgressed the commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes of Yahweh? If you don't have that time allotted, take time now. Put some time on your schedule. Yahweh Ben Yahweh recommended a minimum of 1 hour a day, minimum. But you certainly, with the mind and the nature of Yahweh, could use more than an hour per day. So take time out now. If in your notes, write yourself a prompt. Schedule time to study Yahweh. And then finally, you want to be able to distinguish right from wrong. And without your active study, there is no way. If you are not actively studying the commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes of Yahweh, you're going to continuously be outside of the character of Yahweh. You will continuously have a flawed character and nature because you don't have the resources and tools you need to make good decisions. It is imperative that your study is a part of your day-to-day. And you have to ask yourself, do I even acknowledge that I've transgressed the commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes of Yahweh? Again, some of us think that because we know the name Yahweh, that we know that Yahweh Ben Yahweh is the Son. We may even think because we know that Judah, the fourth tribe, is chosen to be the ruler, that we have the proclivity to make good decisions. Well, family, this chapter just told us you have to have an active study in order to be able to make these good decisions. And then, of course, we did a calendar check. Have you made time to study and to learn? This is really important because if you're not doing this every day into perpetuity, you will miss a critical element. And finally, do you accept Yahweh Ben Yahweh as the Son of Yahweh? Hence, accepting yourself as a child and offspring of Yahweh himself. Having these tools and resources will allow you to properly give thanks to Yahweh. Without them, you align with the ideas and the principles of the pagan, heathens, and worshipers of Satan. To be clear, these people are heathen, they're infidel, they're idolaters and the idolatress, they're atheists, they're even skeptical of, can I even keep the law? That's a very critical question, an understanding that we really need to be thinking of. If you're skeptical of if you can keep the laws, statute, judgments, and commandments of Yahweh, that is a telltale sign that you need to be active in your study. Again, your character will remain flawed until you accept Yahweh Ben Yahweh, obey the commandments of Yahweh, and give him thanks for all things. You know, we have the default practice because of the ways of the heathen. We have not had this access to the knowledge of the law, statute, judgments, and commandments of Yahweh until the coming of Yahweh Ben Yahweh. So do know that everything, all systems, are embedded with the ways of the heathen and the worshipers of Satan. So you must be intentional in your practice. Yahweh Ben Yahweh understood that this was our nature and that the nature of the people at the time of his coming. And he taught us the power of mind. This was very necessary for us to build in the intentional practice to change our character. The process of study, family, is how you do that. Well, I am truly grateful for being able to share in this study with you this evening. Please revisit this teaching. Go through the slides in the PowerPoint that you see visually so that you can actually learn and take this wisdom and make your action plan and not only apply it to yourselves as individuals, but your families and the nation as a whole. I'm truly grateful to the most honorable Yahweh Ben Yahweh for bringing me to this understanding. It gives me a great deal of honor to announce and share with the person who has brought about a change in my life. But he's bringing about a change in all of our lives as individuals by causing us to take a different approach. If you're doing the same thing that you was doing and you're getting the same results, that by definition is insanity. Yahweh Ben Yahweh is giving us this approach that is based off the scripture, that is, it is more blessed to give than to receive. Well, family, I would love to introduce to you and welcome on to our conference tonight the Grand Master of the Celestial Lodge, the architect of the universe, the blessed and only potentate, the founder of the nation of Yahweh, true holiness and righteousness, the kingdom of Shalom, which is the most powerful knowledge of peace in existence. We are speaking of none other than the most honorable Yahweh Ben Yahweh. Praise Yahweh.
I'm establishing structure, order, method, system, discipline that's infallible, can't fail. Those on the inside can see that in order to enter heaven, you have to be worthy. You have to be superior. You have to be eminent, of high repute. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Can't enter in here and rule any other way. You have to be holy, righteous, upright, and honest. Yes, you do. Just anybody can't walk in the kingdom of heaven and stay. You have to qualify. Woo! Look at this. Let's read this verse here. Daniel 2:44. Look at what I'm doing. Read.
And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven.
Excuse me. These kings is right now. The kings, the rulers. Don't wonder about is this in the past? This is in the now. Am I doing this in the past or am I doing this now? I'm doing it now. How many of you are citizens in the nation of Yahweh? Look around. See how many are? Well, you can't change. Nobody that's not can't change it. What do you just see? You see that the nation of Yahweh exists. It doesn't have anything to do with what you think about it. It's independent of whatever you think. You can go all over the country and talk against the nation of Yahweh, it still exists. Ever increasing. Huh? Yeah, I have structured it like that. And if you're born to be a part of it, you just will become a part of it. I have designed this scientifically. I have an order, a system, and a method that's designed to screen out the miscreant and the aberrant. Yes, I have. Yes, I have. I've designed a system where if you don't want to be good and be committed to being good and make a difference in goodness, you just can't come in. That's all to it. You know what's happening, but you just can't do it. Man, I don't want to be good right now. It wouldn't do you any good to come in anyway because we're going to put you right out as soon as we see you being bad. So you're right not to come till you want to be good because I'm building the kingdom of good. You can talk against good all you want. Good is here now. There's good people here now joined together for the first time in history. For 6,000 years, good people are banded together in the name of goodness. We have power now in goodness. You can't take it. You can't deny our existence. How many are part of the kingdom of goodness? See, look around. You who don't want to be good, try to stop it. You can't stop this. Right now, as we sit here and talk, I'm busy searching out the good people on the planet. And all good people are coming to me. Now, I know Satan comes too, but see, he doesn't come. He just comes to bear witness. Wow, yeah, there's a bunch of goodness going on. Right, sure is. You can't find nothing wrong with goodness. You can't. There's nothing wrong with goodness. You just either get with it or you leave it alone. Best to leave it alone. And if you don't leave it alone, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't make any difference what you do. One way or the other, goodness is here to rule. I'm the founder of goodness. I created goodness to rule over bad. That's the way it is. I created the positive to rule over the negative. I made it like that. The positive force carries more power than the negative force. Both exist, but one is more powerful than the other. One can subdue the other. The negative has been ruling. The wicked have been ruling. They represent the negative. They have been ruling because the good people have been scattered from each other. Good people have been divided against each other all over the earth. How can Satan rule except he first divide good people from each other? That's how he divide and conquer. He can't conquer with good people joined together. They'll win every time. For 6,000 years, the good people have been divided. Ever since Lucifer came in the garden and divided the Adamic people. Lucifer came in and talked to the Evites. And they turned around and they were created to be a helpmeet to the Adamic people. Adam was male and female, not a hermaphrodite. It was a nation of people. Adam was the people of God. Adam was the people of Yahweh. They were the children of Yahweh. Adam was the son of Yahweh. It was just put in a story form under a type. Adam was just a type, but Adam was male and female from the beginning. Oh, you didn't know? Yeah, you didn't know that. Genesis 5 and 2. Genesis chapter 5. Everything I say is in the book. I come in the volume of the book. I speak all 66 books from within myself. Just by nature, I talk it. I can't help myself. Every word I utter, you can go to the book and find it in there. I never speak foolishness. I always speak wisdom. Genesis 5:2. Read.
Male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam.
That'll get that. He made them is plural. There is plural. Call them and their name Adam. You're talking about male and female, husbands and wives, a nation of people were called what? Adam. Where did Eve come from? Eve, the Evites, were also a people taken from Adam. They came out of Adam. But in order for this to take place, Yahweh had to put Adam to sleep. And when Yahweh put Adam to sleep and created the Evites, something happened over here in Matthew. They hid what happened all the way over in Matthew and said, while men slept. Huh? Matthew 13. While men slept is when Adam went to sleep. Yeah, that's what this is right here. Everything happened in the garden. And whatever's going on in the world, it goes back to the garden. Verse 25. Read. But while men slept, that's why Adam slept. Yahweh put him to sleep. The enemy didn't put him to sleep. after Yahweh put Adam to sleep and while they slept. Men, see, these were men. Men mean male and female. Them. And while men slept, his enemy came. While he slept, Yahweh took an inferior people, made an inferior people out of Adam. And named them, when Adam woke up, he named them Evites. Evites. Weak people. Just from one rib, they're unable to protect the organ of the law. But when you took the one rib from Adam, it didn't leave him incapacitated. He still has the power to protect the vital organs of the law by nature. But Evite is made up of one rib, so they have the form of godliness, but they can't accept the power because they don't have the rib cage for it. They can't hold it. They can listen to it, they can talk about it, but they can't keep it. They can't protect it. You can't get this in church. So now, while Adam slept, here comes a weak people that Yahweh say they are designed to just help you. They can't dress the garden and keep the garden. They can't be left to be in charge of the garden. They are weak. Gullible. So while men slept, the enemy came. Lucifer came to who? Eve. And sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up, brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the household came and said to him, Sir, did thou not sow good? Did thou not sow Adam in the field? Where did these enemies come from? He said to them, an enemy has done this. The servant said unto him, see, when they had to ask, Sir, where did they come from? It shows you they went to sleep. If they'd been awake, they'd have known where they come from. And that's the condition of black people. They don't know how they got here. They don't know exactly where they came from. They just know they're over here. And what happened to us? Why we can't work together? If the black man could just get together, he'd be the most powerful man. Every black man can say that. If we could just cooperate together like everybody else, we would be the most powerful people. Right. See, you know it, but you can't. All black folks say that. Well, why don't you cooperate together? See, an enemy warped your mindset. He did this.
Know and rest your mind assured. Our eyes have seen his works before. And until my last days, 'tis Yahweh I will praise. Yahweh.
Wow. Family, Yahweh Ben Yahweh just sealed the deal. He gave structure. He gave order. He has created the system. His information is superior. His mind is imminent. He is bringing us to high repute. I just want to share Genesis 5:2 once more. That's Genesis chapter 5, verse 2. Male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam in the day that they were created. He called their name Adam, and he blessed them in the day they were created, male and female. Yahweh Ben Yahweh has came and brought about a change in the lives of us, and I declare to you that the sleeping giant shall no longer sleep. It is time, family, for us to deploy our intentional practices, change our ways, and stand up, rise up, mighty giant, and do what it's time for us to do. I thank Yahweh for this message. I thank Yahweh for this energy. I thank Yahweh for me returning into the practice, the intentional practice of his commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes. This sharing, family, has been a really enlightening process for me. And I thank Yahweh Ben Yahweh for being able to give me this energy to share with you all this evening. And so with that said, we're going to move ourselves into the next segment. But I again thank our Father Yahweh for deploying this information in me and being able to share it with you.
Right, crowd. Come on now. Get it together now. Praise Yahweh. What a presentation. Wow. And what a message from the king. Ooh, and after the king, there's only a few points that you have to point out to be redundant. We're being redundant. Have you noticed this feast? There's a theme of redundancy. See, because it's only one way, Yahweh. And Yahweh has set up his systems. Satan has set up all of the other systems of the world. So now you either with Yahweh or you support Satan. You either support Yahweh or you support Satan. There's no alternative. There's no neutral ground. There's no in between.
And there's no fast track to the process outside of study.
Absolutely.
And study is the fast track.
Well, to support Yahweh is to support the works of the nation of Yahweh. To support the publishing of the name of Yahweh. And to support Yahweh's children in coming together and preparing for and rescuing our future by preparing a community that will be qualified to enter and rule New Jerusalem.
Yes, sir.
So now it takes support. And it is that time for our offerings and donations.
That's
You can
right,
pay some
family.
tithes too.
And we have a strategy that we are cooperating on.
Mm-hmm.
It is not happenstance that Yahweh Ben Yahweh deployed the term cooperate. This strategy that we are coming together on is a true cooperative endeavor.
Absolutely.
It's really time for us to demonstrate the power of ownership. Through this, we have our Built Small Business Grant Program, for which we have granted 3 recipients this first cycle, as well as launching the first phase of Yahweh's Nation Building Institute for all who applied to the Built Grant Program. That we'll be making some announcements in January of their year of how the Nation Building Institute classes will be
In that month they called January.
That's right. And then our next major goal is to build a convention center, and not just a convention center, but we want to have a space for commerce 365 days a year, 7 days a week, as many hours in the day we can get it in. So that said, family, it takes your support. You can support through Cash App, that's $donate NOY. You can either PayPal or Zelle using the Nation of Yahweh, the Nation of YHWH at gmail.com. And we now have a new line where you can text the word donate or the word pledge to area code 504-386-4686. 4579. We highly encourage you to visit the nationofyhwh.com. That's our website, and click on the Tides button. And there you can see a number of ways and frequencies to donate. And then, of course, you can mail in your donations to the Nation of YHWH. That's the Nation of Yahweh at P.O. Box 555-115, Orlando, Florida 32855.
Praise Yahweh. And so let's do it. We're going to open up the lines. And so you can come off the mute and let us know what I'm sure you calculated everything you calculated, how much I would have spent on the airline ticket, how much I would have spent on the rental car, how much I would have spent on the B&B or the hotel room. And you got all that money and you're ready to give it. We're coming to the end of the feast, but it's definitely not the end of the giving.
In our efforts, it's a collective cooperative strategy into perpetuity.
Absolutely. We have to continue to do and build until the earth is subdued and all the wicked, Yahweh has kicked them off the planet. He will evict them. All we have to do is clean up behind them and dress and keep the earth. That's the whole duty. That's our duty. That's the law. And so in order to do that, we have to first build a future for ourselves here now while the wicked are being destroyed. The fight is whether you're going to join on to the wicked or you be joined on to Yahweh. That's your battle. That's the war of Armageddon. If you would rather give other nations your money as opposed to give it to your nation, the nation you will seek refuge in when the stuff hit the fan, when the things go down, when the stuff happens. What nation will you go to for refuge? Well, that's the nation you're supposed to be supporting. Now, if it's the devil's nation, by all means, keep giving him your money because you know what he's going to give you in return. You know what he's going to do to you in return.
Well, family, the lines are open.
Yes, ma'am, they are.
They are open. Feel free to come off mute and share your contribution, or if you want to share your pledge, we do invite you to either put that in the chat, in the YouTube chat or the Zoom chat, or if you want to come off mute and say something live, we encourage you to do that as well. And if you're on the Zoom app, all you have to do is press the microphone or raise your hand, or if you're dialed in, I think it's *6 to unmute.
Praise Yahweh. Well, we do want to hear from you.
But if not, we can close out with our final piece to our production. We need the word. So if family are having difficulties coming off mute, or if we need a little more time, we can close out in our production.
All right, family, we're waiting on you.
All right.
It's time for us to put it together.
Looks like we do have a caller with their line unmuted.
Praise Yahweh.
Is that our sister Zabia Athalia by Yahweh?
Yes, ma'am. Praise Yahweh Ben Yahweh, giving all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh Ben Yahweh, who is Yahweh in the flesh as a son. And I just wanted to let family know that I'm giving from myself and my business, Perfectly Pure Products, LLC, another $150 tonight.
Greetings, family. Sorry.
Our
Wrong
applause
button.
is not coming through. There we go.
All right. Praise Yahweh.
Technical difficulties. Praise Yahweh.
We certainly thank Yahweh for blessing our sister and blessing her with the mindset to understand that this is how we have to rescue our future.
And the business skill. I mean, Perfectly Pure is a brand that is on the rise, family. Our sister Zavita is doing some amazing things.
Absolutely.
She already has a line of health products, but also is developing a toothpaste.
Look forward to that.
Sister
very,
Zavita,
very soon.
You still with us?
Yes, ma'am.
Praise Yahweh. So would you like to share a little bit about your endeavor, Perfectly Pure?
Oh, yes, ma'am. It's been about a couple of years in the making now, and Yahweh has blessed me to, as you just stated, to come up with a line of health products, and for all who care about their health, and their first duty to make our bodies healthy, as our Father Yahweh Ben Yahweh told us in his divine dietary law book for Hebrew Israelites in the world. It is our duty to make our bodies healthy. You can visit my website at www.etsy.com. That's etsy.com/shop/perfectly pure product. And that's singular with no S, perfectly pure product. And as our sister Tamar just stated, coming really soon is our latest product through Perfectly Pure Product, and that is the Zodi toothpaste family. And this toothpaste, you don't have to worry about any bad ingredients like on the other toothpaste. They tell you if swallowed, call the poison control, and they tell you not to even let your young ones swallow it, and that's very concerning. So we don't have to worry about any of that with Zodi toothpaste.
Praise Yahweh. Yeah, praise Yahweh. Coming very, very soon. Yeah. All
Yes,
right.
indeed. And that's
Go ahead.
Perfectly Pure will be one of the many brands that will be having available in the Nation of Yahweh's marketplace. Now, we had planned to have a soft launch on some of the products. We do have some products available, so we want to encourage you to email us at the info at the nation of YHWH.com for any requests for products, but we will have some more information if we have to email it out to you soon, but we have run into some technical delays with that soft launch. So do know that we have a marketplace that is underway that you'll be able to get some of your Nation of Yahweh products, a new website with all of our merchandise.
Absolutely. Praise Yahweh. And you do want to support the Nation of Yahweh by purchasing merchandise, but you also want to give offerings and donations, because that's how we build right now. You know, we're bringing it all together. We fulfill scriptures. We broke apart. Now, Yahweh Ben Yahweh said you have to qualify to come in. And if you come in, you're going to bear witness to our doing good. Well, the BUILD program is definitely doing good. You can ask a few of these business owners, how well did this help them? And we'll do some interviews and some testimonies of those people, but that's just one cycle. We have another cycle next year that now that we've developed a program, it'll be an easier a situation, and more people can apply, and more people will get the word out to apply, and more people will seek to serve the Nation of Yahweh with their business. That's just it's a stimulus package. It's a stimulus program. You know, we want to support those businesses with our business, and so that they can stay in business and they can prosper, so that we can have businesses within our nation that are prosperous and paying tithes and giving donations and offerings. It's just what America does, but America is Satan's systems, and Satan's systems are designed wicked. Well, Yahweh's system is designed righteous and perfect. Just like Sister Tamar said in her dissertation this evening, that you have to study to understand Yahweh's systems. You got to understand, you know, what it's all about and the nature of it. Just that word study, you know how Yahweh taught us about 2 Timothy 2:15 and how he defines study. We know that. So we would like everybody to make a donation who are listening right now. And there are a lot of people listening right now. Make a donation of anything.
We do have someone with their line unmuted, and I believe that is our sister Nibia Yisrael. Is that you, sis?
Yes, ma'am.
Praise Yahweh. Welcome.
Yo.
Hello. This is Divya. I am 14 years old and I would like to donate $100.
Well, praise Yahweh. See, the future is investing in rescuing the future.
Praise Yahweh. That is what it's all about.
Go ahead.
I'm just excited, Sister Nivea. We are so thankful to Yahweh for your contribution. Did you have anything else you wanted to share tonight?
I've just been enjoying the feast.
Praise Yahweh.
Well, praise Yahweh. The feast is made for lasting, and wine maketh merry, but money answers all things. And you just answered all things by donating and having the understanding of rescuing our future to donate. So praise Yahweh for you and your whole family. Praise Yahweh.
Praise Yahweh. Thank you, sir.
Praise Yahweh. Thank you, man.
What an amazing sharing that we've been having so far. And we have so much more to present, and we want to be respectful of everyone's time. So with that said, family, we really are going to have to bring this one to a close. But we are very grateful to all who are staying on, and we're going to try to get in a few extra pieces on tomorrow night, which is our Holy Convocation. But this concludes our class for this evening. We want to invite you to join us tomorrow night at Yahweh's Feast of Tabernacles celebration at the same time, right here on our feast teleconference line. Again, as said, it will be our Holy Convocation, and our presenter for tomorrow night is Brother Jeremiah Job, Miami, son of Yahweh Ben Yahweh, who is bringing about some information that will change your life. So I want to thank Yahweh for all of the people and all of our facilitators who have been able to share in our Feast of Tabernacles. We encourage you to remember to pay Yahweh and yourselves first, and don't touch it, as instructed by the Honorable Yahweh Ben Yahweh. You can send your tithes, donations, and offerings to the Nation of Yahweh at P.O. Box 555-115, Orlando, Florida 32855. And you can visit us online at thenationofyahweh.com, and any of the platforms that we've shared this evening are Cash App, PayPal, or Zelle. And be blessed continually, according to Malachi chapter 3, verse 10.
Praise Yahweh. And now, family, it is that time that we like to close out night 7 of the Feast of Tabernacles 6025 with a prayer to our Heavenly Father Yahweh. If all will stand and face the east. Tefillah. Avenu Sheba Shemayim. Yikade Shemayaka. Tavo Makuterka. Yaverizonka. Kim Bashamayim Kain Ba'aris. And Lekem Kukenu. Tain Lanu Hayam. Uslat Lanu. All Partienu. Kimo Sasol King. Gamanatnu. Lakotiam Lanu. They all Tevienu. Lade Nisayam. King Kal Senu. Minhara. Kilaka. Hamamlaha. Veha Gibara. Veha Tefier. Leolame. Olamin Sila. We thank thee, O Yahweh, O living and eternal King, who has so mercifully restored our souls within us. So let everything that has breath praise Yahweh.
Yahweh Ben Yahweh, because of you I exist, to walk in your ways, I'll always persist. In you there's no greater love I can have. I have joy unspeakable, and I just wanna tell. You're the righteous judge who can deliver. Yahweh Ben Yahweh, you are the lawgiver. I just I'm spreading your word. I am bold. Yahweh Ben Yahweh.